Hello, welcome back to Young Old.
Welcome, Young Oldenators.
We have new microphones.
And I spent a freaking fortune on them.
So you better watch so we can make that gosh darn money back.
We're
I
just
framed out my feet, but you can't see I sacrificed 2 toes for this.
Yeah.
They're bleeding out on
Yeah.
the bed.
I told Dana we're just going to keep swapping out mics until we're world famous.
Yeah, and
I think that sounds
It's
good.
the equipment's fault.
That's a good strategy. Insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results. Nikolai Tesla. No, just kidding. I don't know. if
But
he
we're
said
doing
that.
different things, so... Well, I guess the same thing would be switching out the mic. Okay, this is boring.
Anyway, okay. I'm bored.
Two sisters talk about dumb shit. We hope you like it. Cause if not, then we'll kill ourselves and the blood will be on your hands. Young Old!
What we were just talking about was our sitting arrangement, and I was like, technically where I'm sitting is my bad side, but like, and Robert was like, I put you there because where I'm sitting is my good side. But the thing is like, I'm gonna let it go because I know that my bad side is better than your good side, and yeah, so that's why I'm
Dude,
okay with it.
I think about that all the time. Whenever like, dude, how I realized that I was pretty was that I stopped caring about like if clearly a girl wanted to like be on the other side of the picture. I was like, whatever.
Well, I
like,
never, for a while, I didn't know that I had a good side or a bad side.
Yeah.
Like, so whenever people would want to do that for photos, like, they're like, oh, like, can you stand here? I'd be like, yeah, okay. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't get it. And then my friend told me, she was like, Eve, I really like taking photos with you because you don't care which side you're on.
Yeah.
And then that was that planted a seed that grew
No,
to you
well, but
really
then I was-
caring now.
Well,
Well,
how
I
did you
don't-
figure out?
but
How did you
see-
finally figure out what was your good side?
But I don't think my good side is that much better, which is why I don't really care.
Well, because it's your symmetrical flex.
Well, my
Exactly,
my good side is much better. Like
guys.
here, this is my good side, but this is my bad side.
he's going to make a face. Oh,
Okay.
no.
Oh, so it's a crime to have fun.
You're real predictable.
I called the cops. The fun cops are coming to arrest you.
The
Thank
thing
God.
is, like, I can always predict every bit you're going to do it.
Well,
He's gonna do a bit.
The other day, Eve said that she could see thought bubbles forming above Robert's head before he says
I
that thing.
can. Well, for a while, Robert and I had this war going on where whenever we would show...
I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to think if I remember ever having a war with
I
Eve.
know which
Bro.
war that she's gonna say. It's the selfie war.
Yes, the selfie war.
Yeah. So when you show the other person something on your phone, like, and you act like it's something else, but really it's just like a bad selfie of you.
I'd be like, oh my god, did you see this? Like, did you see this like picture taken of Los Angeles today? And then it's a picture of my
or
face.
it'll be like, did you hear Oscar left the Just Trish podcast?
it'll be
and he's like, let me see that. And I'm like, and it's
Yeah.
me going like,
Or like, did you see Oscar got arrested and this is his mugshot? And I'd be like,
for a long time, as long as I baited the hook with anything related to Trisha Paytas, Eve was gonna bite.
Yeah.
It was too easy, but she caught on.
but then I caught, well, but even now I'm still scarred and like the war is long over. Like we haven't done that in a while, but even still, like he'll be turning around his phone and I'll be like, no.
I'll be like, here's a picture of Dana and I on Christmas. And he's like, don't show that to me. I know what you're trying to do.
But then he did a really cheap shot, which was when they got engaged. And he said, do you want to see the engagement photos? And then he did it. And it's
Yeah.
like, that is the lowest of the low.
Also, just the fact that you'd prioritize selfie bit over sincere love.
no, he
is
literally
so-
prioritized our bit war over the engagement photo,
and
which is so despicable.
yeah, it's pretty sad.
So what I'm hearing is I won the war.
Bruh.
I won the war. I wasn't like even thinking about it. But then when that moment presented itself, it's like, it's too good. It's too good.
I can't
Yeah.
remember. I got you one time that was so good, but I can't remember what I said.
Well, Eve actually got me. The thing about this war is I started the
invented
bit,
it.
but then the thing is I actually created a weapon that then Eve used against me more often than not. Like so many times Eve would get me because I actually don't have good bit radar for other people.
Because
I'm
you're
just-
usually dishing
Yeah.
out the bits
I'm
not
thinking about my
on
own
the
bit.
receiving
So
end.
Eve actually got me way more times in the selfie war. Well, that's why I had to do the engagement, use the engagement ploy because Eve kept getting me and I'd stacked up such a big lead where I'm
and
like,
my guard up was up so high.
yeah.
I'm like, did you literally propose for an opportunity to bit
To
war?
get me.
Yeah.
You knew who I
you
was when you agreed to marry me.
One time when Robert and I, probably like maybe like 8 months into dating, Robert did a bit where he said he was going to stop doing bits. And it actually made me so upset.
It's like obviously not. That's a bit in
Honestly,
itself.
that is
but,
a
like,
bit.
but like I was so upset at like the possibility that he would like stop doing bits.
She literally started to cry.
I sobbed.
I was like, fine. I think Dana and Eve were like, we don't like your bits. And I was like, fine. Guess I won't do any bits then.
Literally combust.
Yeah.
I think that he would combust
But I
if he
think
went
he went a
5 minutes
couple
without
hours.
it. No, because
Well-
him not doing it is a bit.
is a bit.
I was like, what if he's serious and he's never gonna do bits
And Eve's
again?
like, don't you see?
Don't you see? This is all a bit.
The way that I like can't take a joke like is actually crazy. Like the way that I thought Moses was gonna drive me to Trishmas.
The way you thought you were going to the platform.
I always think I'm going to the platform.
Also, if you aren't familiar with the Trisha Paytas extended universe, like we're throwing out names like Oscar and Moses. And
Yeah,
people are like,
sorry.
what they're talking about.
but I feel like there's probably a good amount of overlap
no,
between.
I would hope. I would really hope
Yeah.
that we have overlap with the Just Trish podcast. That'd be incredible.
And if you are listening to this and you don't listen to Just Trish, just listen to Just Trish instead. Turn this off. Go
ahead and listen to Just Trish.
It's much better. Just kidding.
We look
Stay
at
here,
like
please.
the YouTube retention and
Yeah.
it literally drops to 0 right when you say that.
Just Trish, yeah. And no one ever watches Young Old again. They're on Just Trish. You have an eyelash. Do you want to make a wish?
Yes.
Well, personally, I have room in my day for lots of podcasts, so I'm hoping you can watch this
It's under
and
my finger
also
now.
watch.
Great. Was it mutually beneficial?
Hmm?
Was the wish mutually beneficial?
I think the more information I give out about the wish, the less likely it is to come
whenever
true.
Dana makes a wish, I always say that I wished for her wish not to come true. And then she says, well, now that you said it's not going to come true. And then I'm like, okay, well, I should start saying, I wish your wish comes true. So then that way.
Eve's kind of diabolical
Yeah, Eve is
on a
actually-
moment-to-moment basis.
Eve, I mean, my mom joked that she was going to make Eve's middle name L, so that
So
Eve
it'd
would
be
be
Eve
Eve
L.
L. Donnelly,
That is fun.
which is really funny. Yeah.
Just
bit.
before this podcast, Dana and I are like driving back to the house, and Eve calls us, and she goes, "Do you guys want food? I feel like we should get
I
food."
knew this was going to be brought up.
And then Dana goes, "Okay, well, I guess I can order food. What do you want? Pizza, Chinese food?" And Eve doesn't say anything.
Just like
it's like a
kind of
mob
vague
boss closing
mouth
a deal.
breathing. Like kind of like
Well, no, I go like, if you're on audio, sorry, but I go,
And we were just on audio, so Dana would be like, "Oh, do you want us to order a pizza?" 20 seconds of silence.
well, it's my way of saying like, not really.
Yeah,
but
I
like I
know.
just don't know how to like I'm like
You just verbalized.
No, but like I don't know, but
I'm
it's frustrating
thinking about it.
when people don't talk. Like if you start to think out loud, then we can brainstorm together. But if you're just like
the way I
down
just,
on my
like, I
idea in your
can't. Like I
head,
physically cannot.
she had a freeze meltdown today at Alfred's.
You helped me. I think if you weren't there, it would have been a lot worse. But at Alfred's, and I ordered a coffee, and she's like, "Do you want that iced or hot?" And I was like,
iced or hot. I'm like, you should know if you want it
And
iced
Dana
or
goes,
hot.
"Iced, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Yeah. Like I needed that nudge for somebody to be like, "You want it iced."
But then today I said on the podcast we were gonna play a quick decision game to help Eve increase her
And I said,
decision-making skills.
I said prior to this happening that all of my answer is going to be, I don't have to do this.
I don't have to
I don't
do
have
that.
to play this. I don't have to make that
But
decision.
this is what we mean when we say that you're a bit of a catfish, because like you'll do a photo swipe of you glammed up and the caption is like, "Me in the big city." But I know Eve in the big city is just looking at like a subway sign like,
Yeah, I know you're literally just like stuck in constant paralysis, like trying to make a decision.
Eve's making a picture like with a coffee and it's like perfectly lit and she's perfectly glammed up. But I know like that ordering that coffee took everything she had.
Also, the barista behind the scenes is so mad at her. She ruined a barista's day.
Well, she was mad at me because I said there was 2 different coffees, and I said, "Is this one the one I ordered?" And she was like, "Yeah, so it's actually on the paper on the cup."
She like literally basically implied that Eve couldn't read. Like
And I
she
was like,
implied that Eve was
But it
illiterate.
was underneath the thing.
Yeah.
It was underneath
No, it was the cup holder.
So how was I to know?
How is she to know?
But that's the thing. Like everyone made fun of Starbucks for like saying people's names wrong, but now coffee shops don't even say your name. They're like,
That's
"Fine,
so
you read it."
facts. Yeah.
See how good you are at saying names out loud.
Yeah. Amen.
Well, whenever we're in the time leading up to the pod, we're like, don't talk about anything interesting. We have to save it. And what were we just talking about?
Well,
Johnny
Well,
Capahala.
Johnny Capahala. Okay, so if you don't know, Johnny Capahala is a Disney Channel original movie from the early 2000s about a kid named Johnny who
What was his last name?
Capahala. Bitch.
Oh.
And he and his Hawaiian mom go live with his new white stepdad in, I believe, Utah. Or he gets sent to boarding school. I don't really remember. It doesn't matter. Anyway, Johnny Capahala is this Hawaiian surfer guy. He moves to cold weather climate, and he is suddenly a snowboarder amongst skiers, and the rich kids are the skiers, and the poor kids are the snowboarders.
It's
and
funny
they
because
have
snowboarding is expensive.
It's very expensive.
and they have like the skiers have like slur names for the snowboarders.
Wait,
Like, it's
what
basically,
are the slur
I
names?
can't. They call them like.
It
Wait,
is
let's 40.
40.
Come up with other derogatory names while I look it up.
You little snow skater. No, it's bad.
It's like pretty mean.
I don't even. How could you even come up with something that bad? You little butt dragger.
Yeah.
Honestly, that is what I
You're
think
a
when
butt dragger.
When I see snowboarders, I'm like, but always dragging their dang butts.
It is funny because in the real in the real world,
Oh, Johnny Tsunami is the name of Johnny Capola Back on Board is a sequel. So I'm thinking of Johnny Tsunami
is the first one.
Yes. And okay, in Capahola's new town, there are two schools: a private school where the students are skiers known as skis,
There
Oh,
it is.
how inventive!
and the public school where the students are snowboarders known as urchins. I knew it was mean.
urchins.
I knew it was mean.
So it's skis, which is very
The
self-explanatory.
U word.
the
then
skis
urchins?
and the urchins.
Where does
yes.
urchins? Is it because it's kind of like like surfing?
Yes.
So they're like urchins.
urchins. Yeah.
That's
and,
so rude.
And yeah, Johnny goes to the skier school. Okay, so Johnny's at the private school, but Johnny thinks that
What are the skiers? What are the skiers called?
They're called skis.
Skis. So Johnny is an urchin, but he's at the skis school.
Yes, and the kids at the skis school don't like Johnny, and it's not
'Cause he's an urchin.
stated
'Cause he's an urchin
'cause
and
he-
they're skis.
Okay, but it's like it's because he's an urchin, but also he's the only not white kid at the school. So,
there's
it's obviously it's like kind of a weird.
There's obviously
overtone.
racism and
Exactly.
classism.
They're like, we really hate
Exactly.
that guy. And then they see like the guidance counselor walking by because he snowboards.
Exactly. Maybe the whole feud was created because they didn't like Johnny because he was Hawaiian.
Yeah,
I
they
don't
got called
know.
in the principal's office for racism, and they're like, "No, it's a ski thing."
It's because he bored.
The most racist private school kids in the world, are like, "No, it's because he's knows how to surf."
Are the other snowboarders white or are they? not
The
white?
other snowboarders, I think there's definitely a mix. It's more of a mixed group. I mean, there's a public
Versus
school kids.
The skis are all white.
The skis, yeah. Well, also, so the main ski is this like tall blonde white guy, and he's really mean. And when I was a kid and I watched the movie, I had a huge crush on the evil white
She's
skier.
got a type.
And I was thinking, but that's what I was gonna mention when we were eating dinner. And
Is
I
that you're the
laughed,
evil white guy?
Is that it's so funny that like you're like who I'm engaged to because you are so much like the evil ski.
And you're
The main
Johnny
evil ski.
Capola.
Yeah.
Johnny Capola.
I don't ski, but I do vibe like someone who would walk up to someone at a ski resort and be like, "So they just let anyone in here,
Yeah,
huh?
that's your whole vibe.
Wow, another urchin on the ski slopes."
And I'm like hot, and I love that. That's my type. Someone who's gonna call an urchin an urchin.
But in reality, I don't ski or snowboard, so I'm actually lower on the hierarchy than even an urchin.
well, we always talk about your socioeconomic vibe is like you would be a really rich,
Yeah.
like from deep money, and you're not.
Well, it's like the problem is I sound like I'm like literally royalty because
Well,
I have
also
a
your name.
snobbishness and an evil.
Let's back it up here.
what do you think?
Well, no,
Do you
but
think he
I'm
looks
just like,
poor?
No, but
Do you think I look like some sort of urchin?
no, you look like a ski. All right, I'll admit it. But you're like I sound like royalty, and I'm like,
But it's self-deprecating
Oh, wait,
because
What's
I'm
the
not.
Hamilton line? Smells like new money, or
Sounds like fake royalty.
Sounds like new
Smells like
money,
new money.
dresses like
Dresses
fake
like
royalty.
fake
fake royalty.
I'm like Hamilton, but without the ambition. I'm kind of just
He
like
is giving away his shot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
he's
throwing away my
a
shot.
shot every time.
Yeah, I write like I've got a lot of time.
See, I do write like I'm running out of time.
The thing
Manically.
is, he did run out of time.
He literally
Yeah.
wrote.
Well, because he was gonna get into duels. I guess you have to write like that if you know that any day you could just get
could
into a
be
duel.
duel.
But that's only if you're writing things that will get you into a duel. Like Hamilton could have been writing really nice letters and he would have had plenty of time.
But he was writing incendiary things.
Those were the first diss tracks,
Dude, real. I mean, cabinet battles.
dude.
Those were straight from the journals.
I mean,
must
all of
be out
those.
of
I mean,
his
people used to go
garden.
really hard with the quill, as they say.
Yeah.
I always think this. This is. It starts off history, but I swear it gets interesting. When Napoleon was in Egypt, he would write sex letters back to the woman he had a crush on in France, and a British ship who was at war with France captured the ship that had all his sex letters, and they found Napoleon's sex letters and they printed them in the British newspaper.
Diabolical.
Dude.
It's giving Daily Mail.
I mean, it's giving Daily
That's
Mail.
so real. I mean, I think all papers, they'd publish anything. So few people knew how to write. So if you knew how to write, you could get published. And so you
Yeah.
could write anything.
But honestly, if I was Napoleon, I'd be like, it's fine. Nobody can read.
Yeah.
I'm chilling.
Amen.
If I
That's
was
facts.
Napoleon, I would have killed myself.
Yeah.
So in a way, it actually demonstrates great fortitude that instead Napoleon went on to kill many other people.
The way I'd be honored if
So
anyone.
nobody could read it.
So no, he's like I gotta go to war
I'll
so that I
just
can kill
read-
everyone who read my sex letters.
Yeah. T. And that's brave. Somebody on the last pod said, I can't even remember, but that Robert was incorrect about something and that he should go back to Chubs chat. And I'm like, fire, bars.
Here's what I'll say
respect.
about. I remember the comment. It was because they were like, Robert, you were incorrect when you said the Catholic Church would torture people for saying the Earth was round. Actually, they would only torture people for saying that the Earth was not the center of the universe. So my point is, it was clearly like a crazy person who left like this very long paragraph with "go back to Chubs chat" at the end. But I knew when I saw that, I was like, Eve's gonna pick up on
I
this
just think
immediately.
go back to Chubs chat is like such a good bar.
It's a bar.
And it's
It's a
giving
bar.
like go back to your country, but it's like go back to Chubs chat.
You're getting
Yeah.
deported back to a 15-minute
Eve's
segment.
burner left the comment. Eve's gonna leave a bunch of "go back to Chubs chat."
I just think it's a bar.
I just liked that I realized you don't know everything. Like they're basically like you don't even know when the
Daddy.
Earth was discovered to be round. And so when you tell me the Earth's not flat, why should I believe you? Yeah.
I honestly get really pissed off though when people get information wrong on podcasts. Like Just Trish is the podcast I mostly listen to. And Oscar said that there was only 2 Pitch Perfect movies. And I'm like, you fool,
There's
there are
3.
3 Pitch Perfect movies.
And a Peacock series starring Adam Devine.
Right.
There's actually a whole Pitch Perfect universe.
Yes. And then also
The PPU.
right. And then today they had Joey Graceffa on and he said,
Who's that?
A YouTuber.
doesn't matter. He said Sabrina Carpenter from Boy Meets Girl. And I'm like, it's Girl Meets World.
Boy Meets Girl is so
And I was so pissed.
such an error.
I was pissed.
I mean, I guess I did make the Johnny Tsunami error. Maybe there's
No,
people
but
who
his
are like,
name is Johnny Capahala.
yeah, that's true.
So like,
Yeah. I mean, we, young old, we pride ourselves on our journalistic integrity, which is why this brings me to my next topic. So the Trump administration.
Uh-oh, where are you going with this one?
Hold on.
Careful, Eve loves those guys.
oh my
The
god.
Trump administration has made a call to all new media, podcasts, content creators who consider themselves to document news to apply for White House press credentials.
Okay,
And I
we're
am wondering
applying.
if young old should apply for the Trump's White House press credentials.
Wait, so what is that?
Under the
You
new
go and you-
media,
when-
we would go to DC and we would report on the things we see at the White House press conferences.
They do a press conference every day in the White House, and
Wait,
you get to
did
do.
they pay you? What's
No,
No,
no.
we just go.
No.
We get the inside information. We get press credentials, and we get to go ask the press secretary questions about what Trump's up to.
I just like, does our audience care about that? Because I don't even know if I care about that.
Well,
Well-
I don't. I'm just thinking like, should we apply and see if we can get approved? Would be my
but Eve,
question.
okay, let's say we're approved. Like,
Well, we have to go one time. We could do a young
Also, it's
old
like,
field
did
trip
they
to
fly
DC.
you out? Like we have to.
No, it's not like a radio contest. They're like, it's an honor for you to get to
Yeah.
come to the White House press briefing.
Well, yeah, to get the inside scoop on, and also to get to ask questions yourself.
But again, I posed the question: would our audience be interested in this? I don't even think I'm
Well,
interested in this.
There's a
Oh my
press
God.
briefing on like war in the Middle East, and just Eve raises her
I'm
hand like,
bored.
"Have you seen Johnny Tsunami?"
That's just not what young old is about.
No, obviously it's not, Eve. That's why I'm saying.
But that-
wouldn't
that- I
it
think
be?
that's Dana's
my
joke.
whole point. And you're being so like, I don't want to go.
We are
You're
in a
like-
political
you're-
podcast.
We have no interest in attending the White House press briefing.
Why would we be interviewing the press secretary? That's how I feel about
Yeah.
it.
Okay, well, I guess not because
Hey,
if
I can
we,
be decisive about some things, huh?
Yeah.
yeah, when it comes to not applying for new media press
I
credentials,
say I'm putting my foot down.
It's so funny to just imagine Eve listening to a podcast to unwind, and then she hears one fact wrong, and she just instantly like goes into a
I mean,
rage.
Boy Meets Girl really got under my skin today.
well, because Girl Meets World was such a bizarre, iconic show.
Was it?
Well, it's where the
I've never heard of
I
that.
maintain it's where the big eyebrow trend started.
Well, I remember that's when I first was like,
Filling in your eyebrows like
Yeah.
crazy. So if you don't know, Girl Meets World is a reboot of Boy Meets World starring Rowan Blanchard and Sabrina Carpenter pre pop star career.
I wouldn't have even gotten mad if he said Boy Meets World because I'd be like, okay, well, that's the old
Right,
one.
but-
But the fact that it was Boy Meets Girl is what got my goat.
because it also implies that he has no knowledge of Boy Meets World,
Yeah, of the
which is
universe.
sacrilegious. Yeah.
I have no knowledge of either show, but is that the one where they say that someone might have like ADD, and then Sabrina Carpenter goes, "No, you don't."
The autism episode.
Yeah.
That
The
episode's so
autism.
funny. Where he goes, they think I'm autistic, and she's like, they're like, tell them you're not.
Yeah, the tone of that show was always really funny to me because I'm like, I couldn't tell what was supposed to be a joke. And then also the way that Riley, which is Rowan Blanchard's character, would like laugh at things was really unsettling.
No, the tone of that show was really weird.
Like it was
never
like
understood it.
I never understood what the audience was supposed to be taking away from anything at any given point.
Was Boy Meets World? Was that the one with Topanga?
Yes. Boy Meets World was a really obvious comedy. You always also had a laugh track. So did Girl Meets World.
Boy Meets World had a laugh track, but I've seen some clips on TikTok where he's like arguing with his dad about helping him out financially, and it's kind of like pure drama. But was it like a Fresh Prince? Was like a Fresh Prince deal where it'd be comedy until like the last 3 minutes, and then they would have a lesson.
Yes, it was kind of a message of the week kind of show.
Yeah. Dude, speaking of message of the week, Dana and I have been watching Modern Family. We love it, but you can really tell sometimes when you're watching like really any show that this was written by like middle-aged people, because we're watching Modern Family and the storyline is Claire Dunphy, the mom, discovers that her daughter Haley is doing a art show at school, and Claire and Haley did not invite her mom, didn't mention it to anyone, and behind Haley's back, Claire invited the entire family to come to the art show. And then when Haley sees them, she's like, "This is a huge violation. You went behind my back." And then Claire goes, "Hey, I'm allowed to do it because I care about my children." And then that's the end of the episode. And I can just tell like a middle-aged person wrote that right after like
they did that to their kid and their kid got mad at them.
And then they marched into the writer's room and said, "I've got a lesson of the week for you.
If it's a crime to love your kids, lock me up." Like that's very the takeaway of the episode.
And was Haley like, "You're right, Mom"?
At the end, Haley was glad that they all came.
Oh.
And it's really interesting because Robert and I were talking about it and we were like, if the person who Haley's based on wrote that episode, it would not have ended like that.
Yeah, if it was written by like younger people, they would be like, "No, this is a huge violation. It's so weird to not invite someone to something," and they go behind your back to like invite a whole bunch of people.
Yeah, it's such an overstep. But I also think it's like so funny because again, it's like even if your kid in that situation ended up being like, "All right, Mom, I guess it's fine that you did that," they don't feel that way inside. Like they're not actually accepting like, "Oh, my mom just loves me. That's why she invited the whole family." In their head, they're like, "How do I further deceive my mom in the future?"
It is like the arrogance of parents where they'll hear their kid go, "All right, I guess that's fine," clearly being beaten down, and then the parents go, Well,
I guess it's fine. I've done no wrong once again.
Great work.
Good work.
It's definitely a lot different, but there's some similarities of when it was my birthday and my grandma was like, "Oh, like let's have a lunch, and who should I invite?" And I was like, "Oh, like it's not like she didn't ask me or tell me, like, because she did say she was gonna invite people, but I kind of just like brushed it off and like kicked the can down the road, and that's on me. I should have been like, just us. And I did for this year I learned my lesson and I said just us, and I was very clear. But this one year I was like, "Oh, like, whoever," and then the night before comes and she's inviting the whole town.
Yeah.
So many like distant relatives that you had no idea were coming.
Third, fourth, fifth cousins.
Who are like coming a long way. Like some people have to drive hours.
Yeah, 2
to
hours.
Get there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just really don't want all of this under, like, I want to see people, but not like under the branch that is Eve's birthday. Like they all came out to see me. Like,
because then it puts pressure on you.
Yes. If it was just like a neutral family gathering, I wouldn't have cared. But because it was for me, it was like, oh God. And then I tried to get her to cancel, but she was very much like,
"We can't cancel."
Very
stubborn, very like there's no way to cancel.
Well, but that is like a parent or grandparent move. That's so they love to be like, "Hey, you want to get lunch?" And you're like, "Sure." And then like you're on your way to the lunch and they're like, "Oh, by the way, great news. All your second cousins said they could come to this."
Yeah,
and you're like, "Whoa."
And it's like, I agreed to lunch with like you.
Yes.
Again, I'm like, no, the group dynamic actually does matter, and it has a major impact in whether I'm accepting an invitation or not.
Right.
Like I'm like, I care about my vibes. I care about my energy. I care about my peace. I care about not having to make, when I'm not in the right space to make chit chat with people I don't know that well, can't make chit chat with them.
Also, getting a lunch with like, okay, getting a lunch with like one member of your family, like one grandparent, is wildly different than getting a big family lunch together. It requires different levels of emotional and mental prep.
So much.
Amen.
And she was like, "I already ordered all this food. It cannot be canceled." And I was like, if I go and to each person and I tell them it's canceled, then that is canceled. Like, and I don't care if the food can't be canceled, which I know is a lie. But yeah, so then I told one of my uncles, and he like told everybody else, and the people were off. And then once the people were off, she was like, oh, I guess the food can be canceled. And I'm like, oh, really?
Now it can be
And then,
canceled.
well, also I said like I wasn't, because I also wasn't really feeling well, and I was like, well, I don't think I can come because I'm not feeling well. And she's like, well, and she wasn't gonna tell anyone else that.
Yeah, she wasn't even gonna tell
Like everyone else
the
was just gonna
guest,
come
that's
for
the guest
Eve's
of honor.
birthday, and then I wasn't there, and how would that make me look?
Anyway, we love our grandma, obviously.
Yes,
I
it's
that
more
goes
of a-
without saying.
and to be clear, this
But
isn't unique
it's-
to your
yeah,
grandma.
yeah.
It's every parent,
Yes.
every grandparent.
Every grandparent. It's literally every single one. Like, and Robert and I were talking about this, where it's like you can never actually get mad at your mom or your grandma or like whatever, because they all do it. If it's like a systemic issue, it's like, no, I'm not
Now,
gonna.
here's what I will say. They know what they're doing,
They
too.
do.
They know they're backing you into a corner by applying social pressure to you. They're all coming. Your aunts and uncles are driving in from out of town. They know that they're putting the pressure on you. And then they're going to act like, well, what's the big deal?
Well,
It's
they
like,
all have pathological passive aggression.
Yeah.
And they have very, evasive tactics of getting what they want that are very effective if you don't really put your freaking foot down.
well, that's always what bothers me. Is like, to me, I'm like, you're putting me in a position where I have to be rude.
Yeah.
Because you've ignored so many of like the social norms of politeness. You've now made it where like either I have a really weird giant dinner that I was railroaded into, or I'm rude. And even that moment said, I will call your bluff. But a lot of people don't have
a
that
lot of
mental
people don't
fortitude.
have that mental fortitude.
We were saying that I was like Spider-Man with the train, holding the train like for dear life.
And at the end of the track, instead of the track being like a drop or whatever, it's just like a lunch for like 30 people instead of 5.
Yeah, and it is a generational issue, and I can't wait to do it to my future grandkids.
Yeah.
Well,
The
here's
thing
the
is, like,
thing-
I'm like, I mean, I don't see at this moment, but you can never tell the future.
I'm just kidding.
I know. I
won't
think
do
we
that
should go to the
Matt.
White House.
I won't do that.
I would never
We're
do
not
that.
a political podcast.
Why? I don't want to go to DC. We have to pay for it. They're not gonna give us
The
credentials.
skis and Johnny Kapahala were not racist.
I think I just have more faith in us to get credentials than you. I'm like, this will really happen, and then I have to go to DC, and I don't want to do that.
It's giving the platform. You're the platform.
Well, but
Is
like,
me
this
saying
is
we're gonna
possible, though. This is real. This is a real thing. The platform's not real.
I hope not.
We're driving Eve.
I hope not.
We're driving Eve to the White House press briefing, and then we get a call from your mom being like, "Hey, by the way, I invited all your cousins. They can make it to your first press briefing."
Moses is taking you to the press
Moses is
briefing.
driving
He's
us to the
driving
press
us.
Here's the thing. I know everyone says this, but it's like, no, I am gonna be cool as a parent. I'm gonna be
Yeah.
cool about that stuff.
Wait, so you're
No.
gonna get cool later?
Cut the cameras.
So when are you planning to get cool?
So this is like a future thing, or
All right, well, that's it. I'm inviting all your cousins to this podcast.
No, Robert's whole thing is that he thinks that we're gonna have sons and that he and the sons are gonna gang up and exclude me.
I thought it'd just be the funniest thing would be if Dana only has boys, and then it's like a boys club, and then me and the boys have all these inside jokes about sports, and Dana's completely left. She's like, "What are you guys laughing about?" And we're just like, "Nothing," and then we throw the ball around.
that sounded like something like an alien pretending to be a man would say. We're gonna have inside jokes about sports.
Like, are you an alien pretending to be a man?
No, I'm gonna be throwing the ball around with my human sons.
Yeah, that's what that sounds like.
Oh, well, I guess alien's gonna happen to me.
What? That's not what happens.
That's not what happens in Alien. That's not what happens in Alien.
That isn't what happens in Alien.
One of my biggest pet peeves that I just like, I never thought it was funny is like the bit parents do where they think it's no big deal to embarrass their kids in front of their classmates.
Dude, that's so real.
That's
it's so
all
mean.
parents do this. They're like, they'll do something embarrassing and the kid will be like, "Please, you're embarrassing me." And they'll laugh it off like it's no big deal. It's like, you know how big a deal it felt. Do you know what I mean?
Wait, okay, my mom had the funniest bit that she'd do with Eve, where she told Eve that if she was ever embarrassing her, that she could just be like, "Nanny, nanny." she's like, if you're
pretend
ever,
she was my nanny.
She was like, if you're ever embarrassed by me, just pretend that I'm not your mom.
Yeah.
And go, nanny, nanny.
Nanny.
It's so hard to find good healthy.
Oh, yeah, it's so hard to find good
That was
healthy
her
sticks.
bit. That was her bit.
Honestly, though, I never felt embarrassed. Like, even though she was obviously quote unquote embarrassing.
Well, she had the
but,
giant
like,
rollerblades that I always talk
but
about.
I didn't care.
But that's because you were cool. I think it's like it's kids who are like kind of insecure to begin with who like can actually get embarrassed by their parents. The urchins. If you're an urchin, like it's like also just like you're embarrassed just to be alive, and so like any potential thing that you can't control that's also perceived as embarrassing.
Any
like,
degree
it's like
any degree of popularity you have is always on a razor's edge,
Exactly.
and any little thing could tip the scales.
Yeah, and I mean like I was literally known for having sweaty biker mom like in middle school, and it's like I already wasn't cool. Like I already showed up to 6th grade with a rolly backpack. I already like.
Why'd you have a rolly backpack?
That is an unforced error.
Because I wanted. All right, let's talk about the rolly backpack.
I always thought they were cool.
Rolly backpacks.
I didn't have one, but
Yeah, you didn't have one. That's why you thought they were cool.
Okay, sorry.
And also probably by the time that like you were in school, maybe they had been
they were back.
destigmatized.
Yeah.
But basically, I did ice skating when I was a youth, and I really wanted a Zuka. And
But that
Zukas
doesn't count as like a roll. That's different than a rolly
people thought I was
backpack.
so weird. But again, it's just like if you're weird, everything you do is something
Yeah, I
to
think
make
people
fun
thought
of.
Dana was weird, so whatever Dana's doing was weird.
I mean, I know that's true.
When Eve walked into high school with a roller backpack, people were like, "Hey, cool roller backpack." When you
But
walked in with a
also-
roller backpack, people were like, "Freak with a roller
Tea.
backpack."
But also at ice skating, having a Zuka was like so important. So it's like I would rather not have a regular school bag and have the proper bag for ice skating.
But that was my trade-off.
Trade-off.
But I realized very quickly that like it just like wasn't. I was just
me, it
already
seems worth it,
Dude,
but
I
I
like
guess
walked into
not.
middle school and like started suffering, and I never suffered like quite that badly.
Wow, it only
Okay.
took us about 20, 25 minutes.
All right, let's move on. Did you guys hear Trump is going to get rid of income tax?
What's this Trump stuff?
Nothing.
We go all day. Trump never comes up.
and then
we
all of a
never
sudden
talk
it's Trump
politics.
this, Trump that.
Then the cameras start rolling. We're going to the press briefing.
Okay, I guess no one likes my topics.
I feel like I had more to say about mom, which was that. Oh yeah.
Someone asked how our mom was. In the
yeah, I
comments
mean,
of the
she's
last
good.
episode, and they
She's
said,
doing
"When are we going to
her.
talk to her next? Maybe next week we'll do a
We'll
call. How's our
call.
mom?"
But I remember somebody, and I only realized that this was like an insult later in life. But this girl, like mom, let me start over.
Take all the time you need.
Yeah, for sure. I was obviously very fashion forward, as I am now. And mom came to school wearing these like pants that were very just like bold print, brightly colored out there. And this girl looked at her and was like, "Oh wow, like I can really see where you got your style from." Like as like as a
Regina George
Right.
type of where'd you get that?
But
skirt?
Eve was so confident. She was just
But
like,
I was
"Oh,
like,
thanks."
no, but yeah, I took it. I was like, oh yeah, I think it is. Thanks.
You were Katie Heron.
Yeah, I was so
Yeah.
Katie. I was so Katie.
Yeah.
And then now looking back, I'm like,
Well, it's like the flashback where Katie's like,
Yeah.
I love your bracelet." She's like,
right.
"Yeah."
That's how it was.
My obviously, if you can believe it, my fashion used to be so much worse. It was terrible. One time, the 1 year I was kind of on the football team. I never played. I skipped most practices. One time,
Sat in the McDonald's booth.
one time I showed up to like the first day of like the football practices, and I was wearing jeans,
Bruh.
and everyone there called me Jeans Kid.
Dude, to be Jeans Kid.
Yeah.
Also, it's so simple yet so.
Well, and I maintain like again, I didn't like wear them
Jeans
onto the
Kid,
field, but like when you
Jeans
show up in like the
Kid.
summer,
Oh my God, it's Jeans
it was
Kid.
Jeans Kid.
I mean, that's very when Dennis
wow.
and Dee and Always Sunny go to the gym in jeans.
I mean,
and they
yeah.
get there and they're like, "I'm seeing no one else is wearing jeans."
That was me.
It's such a clear way to expose so simply that like you have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
Like when you wear jeans to the wrong place, it's like that is embarrassing, and you are Jeans Kid.
And then, of course, I sucked at football also, but it's kind of like, did I even have a chance to be good?
no.
No, I was Jeans Kid.
Whoa.
Yeah.
There's no world where they'd be looking the sideline like, Jeans Kid just got another touchdown, you know? Also, my other big fashion faux pas, and believe me, there were many, was my senior prom. I really wanted to look good.
Oh, the tan!
So I took some of my sister's tanner, like the tan gel, and I poured a thick layer onto my face, and then I went to sleep, and I didn't wash it off, and I left it on.
That's brutal.
Yeah.
Was your bed like so brown?
I probably slept like this, so I didn't mess up my spray tan, and I was orange.
Yeah. He
I
was
was
a
straight
Oompa.
orange.
I feel bad for your date.
Who was your date?
Here's the thing. My date, I don't think she really gave a shit about me one way or the other.
Right, were you just an accessory?
We kind of went because neither of us had anyone else to go with,
Got
and then
it.
I think we kind of separated as soon as we got there.
Would you rather
Got
be
it.
orange boy or jeans kid?
The thing is, I chose C, all of the above. I said I'll be an orange boy
You
and
said,
jeans
Porque
kid.
no los dos.
Famously, when Dana first started talking to Robert and she was telling me about him, she was like, yeah, he's cute, but like, he just doesn't have great style. And I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, it's mostly just his shoes.
When I met Robert, like he actually dressed not that bad.
No,
like,
you said it was just his
It was like,
shoes.
but there was this pair of like gray running shoes that he would always wear. But then when I decided formally that I liked him randomly,
You
it was
bought
like,
him shoes,
No,
right?
No, like it was. I did buy him.
You
shoes
did
at
buy
some
him
shoes
point, at some
later.
point. But the real thing was, I decided that I liked him, and then the next time I saw him, he was wearing different shoes.
As if he knew.
Like he had bought a pair of like black running shoes, which were significantly less offensive. I remember being like, "Oh, I kind of like him."
Less offensive.
The gray shoes were offensive.
Well, not offensive, but like, are you upset when I say stuff like that? Like, does it make you feel any
No,
way?
I also thought the shoes were bad.
The last time I brought this up, Dana was like human. She was like, "I'm so sorry. Are you upset?"
Yeah.
Well, because I never want, like, it's all love here. You
Yeah,
know?
no, the
Not for
shoes
me,
thing-
bro.
Yeah, of course the shoes thing doesn't bother me. Eve's like, sup, Chubs? Go back to Chubs check, jeans kid.
Oh yeah. Also, on our way to dance this morning, Eve and I passed a catering van called Fat Boy Inc.
Fat boys.
Fat Boys.
And that's a little caricature of like a guy, and he's holding a fork and knife, and he's like a little fat boy. And I wasn't gonna say nothing about it, but Dana pointed it out. She was like, "Oh, Fat Boys catering." And so since she was drawing attention to it, I was like, "Yeah, I was gonna say like the character looks just like Robert."
Since you said something,
Since you brought it up,
since you pointed at a fat boy,
Yeah.
I have no choice but to bring up the fat boy in our midst.
Right. Chubs.
By the
it
way,
just had your energy.
no, it seems like he had my fat.
Well, he had a little fork and knife, and he was like, like,
By the way, maybe it's been so long since we've explained it, you might be wondering what's the explanation for the nickname Chubs? Why am I called Chubs? The explanation is one day I was eating lunch and Eve walked by, stopped, took one look, and said, "You gonna eat all that, Chubs?" And that was it.
And it
also,
stuck forever.
I didn't
And it
even
stuck forever.
The way I didn't even remember the origin, like I was like, why did I start calling you Chubs? And he was like, I remember that day. But
He's
to
like, "Are you
me,
sure you haven't always been called Chubs? Like,
Like-
your whole life?" I'm like, "No,
and
it was you."
even now that you say the story, like I still don't remember it.
Eve's just going around dishing out evil, and she doesn't even remember.
I don't remember.
There's so
She's
many
sowing
people right now.
discord. Yeah, dude, I do bet that you have probably said things to people that stick with them, that scar them.
Yeah, well, it's like in like Thanos when he's like, "You whatever killed my family," and he's like, "I literally don't remember you."
Yeah.
That's me.
Do you think if like kids from your elementary school or middle school could confront you, they'd have shit to say?
Maybe feel free to confront me.
someone-
We'll have you on.
That's a good. Well, yeah.
We'll have
if,
you on.
If Eve has done something to you,
Feel free to come.
Someone
Please
confronts
write
Eve.
us.
They're like, "You named me Mr. Stinky." She's like, "I don't even remember who you
I'd
are."
probably be like, "Well, you were stinky,
But you probably
you
are
must have been
stinky."
stinky."
Again, to me, actually, and here's my real hot take: calling someone stinky, while it's very mean and cruel in the moment, it is a service
to everyone.
to everyone, and it's also service to them. If you have ears to listen and you can hear that you're stinky, it will help you and benefit you
And
in the long
can
run.
hear, not smell, but hear that you're stinky.
But there's some people who are so stinky that I'm like, "You've been told."
You had to.
yeah,
You've
that's
been
very
told.
true.
But maybe everybody thinks that, and so nobody tells them because everybody thinks that.
Surely someone else has told. Surely someone else has
Yeah,
done
and
this.
in reality, nobody's told them.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times maybe it's just hard for people to not smell bad. Like they just don't know.
Can't be that hard. Come on now. Also, it's like I can tell you're not even trying.
In most cases, being stinky is pretty preventable. Someone in the comments can be like,
I will
"Not
say-
me. I have the stinky disease."
When I hit puberty and I started getting BO for the first time, my mom was freaking cruel about it, and she wouldn't even buy me a deodorant. She'd just tell me I smelled bad and then wouldn't buy me deodorant.
Well, 'cause she was
my
all
mom
like-
did the same thing. I think my
That's
mom would
so
be like, "You have
crazy.
Actually, that's a lie. My mom bought me
What?
deodorant. I just thought she was annoying the shit out of me. So
No,
I
I
did.
literally like begged my mom to buy me deodorant. I was like, okay, if I smell bad, then buy me deodorant.
Anti-aluminum.
But then she'd constantly tell me I smelled bad. It
Right,
was
it's like,
so
you gotta
mean.
pick one. Are you
And then she told me that I could
anti-aluminum or-
use my dad's deodorant.
But
It
then
was-
that has aluminum, so why not just get you?
I don't know.
your
And
own?
then later on, she was like, "Yeah, I'm sorry, I was so mean about that." And I'm like, "What the
We're gonna
frick?"
have to interview her about that.
Yeah,
next
we'll
time.
have to ask about the
what her
deodorant.
hang-ups
But
were.
like, yeah, like also like, dude, There were so many things, again, not to like be like, poor me, poor me. Also, I talked about this the other day, but one time my mom read my journal and then she told me that she was like, she was like, the way you write is such a freaking sob story. Who would want to read this? And it's like, ideally, no one. It's
Also,
my freaking
you.
diary.
Also, you wanted to read
also
that.
you.
You're
Also
turning every
you.
page.
Dana was saying like she kept trying to talk to her about stuff and she was not trying to listen, but then would read the diary and it's like
Yeah, like I'm like begging my mom
There
to like
needs to be
listen
an,
to my
an
friend
element
drama.
of melodrama to the whole thing.
Exactly. It can't just be straight up. It has to be like, it has to be something you found out on your own. It's not just something like, you can't hear it from the horse's mouth. You want to hear it from the horse's journal.
From the horse's journal.
And whatever, man, you know?
Well, also when we were after dance today, we walked past this store and in the window there was a polka dot dress. And Dana's doing no buy 2025,
Yeah,
which
which
where
I
she doesn't.
can't even believe I made it this far. The only thing I did buy $1,000 worth of podcast equipment.
But is there nothing that's clothing?
No.
So-
No clothing.
Also, the reason I could buy this is because I haven't been buying clothing.
Also, we were saying it is funny because like all the comments on a terrible podcast is like, we need to make podcast equipment more expensive. It's so expensive.
So expensive.
They had to pay through the nose to
When you
get
hear,
off these takes.
yeah, when you hear a inane podcast, when you're boring people with inane podcasts and you think, oh, like there needs to be more barrier to entries, there's crazy barrier to entry. They really wanted to be inane and boring for you. And you're
you
welcome.
think these psychos won't bankrupt themselves to get their lukewarm takes out?
We're the psychos. Us being the psychos.
We're the psychos.
Okay, back to polka dot
Okay.
dress. Dana sees the polka dot dress in the window and goes, I like that dress. And I'm like, what? And she's like, I said I like that polka dot dress. And if you really loved me, you would secretly go back and buy it. And then gift it to me as a surprise later.
I was obviously kidding.
That tone was
But I
more.
was
That tone was
obviously
verbatim.
joking.
That tone was
Dana
verbatim.
loves to say crazy shit for real, and then when you
Right.
don't react well,
And
be
I was
like,
like-
I was joking.
No, literally.
But that's been my defense mechanism my whole life. Is the only way that I can say what I want to say and then have someone react badly is to just like be like kidding.
Okay,
and
but
that's,
they don't-
That's
they
actually
don't-
how
it
I
doesn't
became
work.
a comedian.
Dana
doesn't
will
work.
tweet out so many jokes, and the joke will be, haha, Dana says this. Wouldn't it be funny if I said this crazy thing? But I was there at the Genesis,
And she
and
did
she
say
said
it.
it for real. She did it for real.
So she said it for real, and she's like, I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
But like, what is a joke if not something that you said that got a bad reaction that you now like to still claim but distance yourself from the
That
seriousness?
can't be the definition of joke. If we Google the definition of joke, it can't be close to that.
Whatever that was. But then I see the polka dot dress. It's ugly.
It was ugly.
At the end of
Ultimately,
the
I
day-
didn't want it. I was joking.
It was ugly.
I was
She wasn't
joking.
And that instinct right there is why
And
Dana.
I have a surprise for you.
All right, and Eve, I have a surprise for you. Cousins, get in here.
They're all wearing the polka dot dress.
Oh my
Whoa.
god.
But I was gonna
Trippy.
say that instinct is why Eve didn't get made fun of for her fashion, and you did. That instinct where you see something, go, I gotta have it, and Eve goes, that's ugly. That right there is the
but
difference.
I am like, I gotta have it, just not about the polka dot dress.
You're about that, but about like just increasingly bigger water bottles.
Yeah. If it was like a really cool Stanley, if it was a Love Shack Fancy in the Love Shack Fancy Stanley in the window.
Well, there's gonna be a new Love Shack Fancy drop this year, and I can't wait.
Well, it's
I
like
just saw
it's-
someone saying that Love Shack Fancy is gonna be like is gonna be like the chuggy chevron.
already
of-
is
yeah.
chuggy.
Well, it's like Oppenheimer, where that one guy's like, and until someone builds a bigger water bottle.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's actually really funny. That's actually really funny
I have
if
seen
you know
Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer.
I just like, I kind of was like,
Well, Oppenheimer's like, I
Not
have the
really all
atomic
there.
bomb, it rocks, it's
Yeah.
so good. And the other guy's like, until someone builds a bigger bomb.
okay.
All right, I forgot that part.
Yes.
I'm sure it was funny.
I don't know what got into me. I'm coming in here like, here's the funny thing about Napoleon and Oppenheimer. I'm like,
Yeah.
who do I think I'm talking
Yeah.
to?
But Trump.
Trisha Paytas.
Yeah, I want to hear about Trisha.
To be fair, we're far closer to Trisha than we are Trump on the on the scale.
Yeah, to you. Well, okay, so
To me, I'm like, it's just like, again, I maintain it would be hilarious for us to go to one White House press conference as news, as the young old
I don't know if
podcast.
hilarious.
I don't think
is the
that's one of those
word.
things that you think it's a funny concept, but then at a certain
you
point,
get
you're
there-
just there. You're just
Exactly.
there around people who like work at CNN.
I agree.
They don't have like snacks there. They don't have like activities.
You don't
there.
think there's snacks? I bet
I
there's
bet
snacks.
there's not snacks.
Doesn't look like the kind of place that would have snacks.
Yeah.
So everyone's so miserable. Oh god.
You guys are really put a damper on my
Oh no, now you
idea.
won't get to go to the White House press briefing.
whatever.
Bruh.
Okay, I saw a news segment that was about how there's scientific evidence that one sibling in the sibling order is always like more successful than the others in sets of 3 siblings. Do you guys want to guess who it is?
In between you, Connor, Eve.
No, just in general. Like
Oh,
in
sorry,
a
sorry.
3 sibling family, which
We'll
you
cut
are
that
also
out.
a part of, there is
Are you trying to get me
studies
killed?
show no,
Are you trying to get me fucking executed?
Studies show that one sibling in the sibling order, and this is dictated by sibling order, tends to be more successful. Who is it in the
Oh,
sibling
you're
order?
saying like
Oh,
1,
it's
2, 3.
always middle child.
That's your guess?
Sure.
my guess is gonna be youngest.
And why? What's your why?
Because youngest get the most positive reinforcement, and I guess if I'm gonna,
Okay, well now I want to change my answer.
well, I actually wanted to say middle child, but the fact that you said it meant that I thought, oh, I'll just say youngest, so we have more variety in terms of answers. Do you want to swap? Do you want to say youngest, and I'll say middle?
Well, then you guys are saying that yourselves. That's you're literally saying
We
that.
both
Like,
wanted to say
you guys
ourselves.
both think that.
okay,
you're gonna be
okay,
more
we'll
successful.
swap if you're okay with that.
All right.
Okay, you're
swap.
swapping.
Dude.
So you have to say
Idiot.
oldest because you're an
Okay,
oldest.
no,
so
no,
we
but I
all have
already
to say
know though.
ourselves.
But I already know.
She knows the
I already know
answer.
the answer.
I would guess middle because you're the
Yeah.
most overlooked, so you have to do the most to get attention.
Well, but now whenever he comes up with explanations, I'm like, wait, no,
Dude, this is the problem with Eve. Eve is the most swayable person
Yeah.
who ever exists.
You have no courage of your convictions. I mean, that's literally hotter.
Well, Eve doesn't really have convictions. Her conviction is she likes to hear a take, and she goes, "That sounds nice." And she hears another take, and she's like,
well,
"That
it's
sounds
like how she
pretty good
likes every
too."
TV show, no matter how bad it is. Every time you say a movie's bad, he goes, "I liked it." And also, she's seen every movie.
Yeah.
She's seen every movie. She's seen every TV show, and she liked them all.
Unless it's like a boring, like critics love. If the critics love it, I hate it.
That I do think
that's
is
true.
generally
if the
a good
critics
take.
hate it, I love it.
But that's how you know you have
Period.
good taste that's real to you.
Yeah.
That means you know you're still in touch with your heart. I think critics have cold hearts. They're grinchy.
As long as something's not boring, I like it.
You know what always pisses me off nowadays is when I see people, and critics now too, like old critics will talk about how they love Adam Sandler, and Adam Sandler's so good, and oh, his comedies are so funny, and blah, blah. I'm like, you guys hated them.
Yeah, you
I was
hated them.
there. You
And
hated
we
Adam
loved
Sandler
them. We
for like
always
30
loved
years
them.
straight, and then like around like 4 years ago, he did Uncut Gems, and everyone pretends
Like he's a genius now.
like he's a genius. By the way, I've always thought he was a
He's genius,
genius.
yeah, but
I
they
was there from
didn't.
day one.
Yeah, but they never thought so.
You guys are Fairweather Sandler fans, and
Fairweather
you
Sandler.
only liked him after Uncut Gems.
Uncut Gems.
Uncut Gems.
Uncut Gems.
Well, the other day I said Uncut Gems, and Robert literally goes, "What are you saying?" And I'm like, "Are you freaking serious right now?"
I
How
said
do you not
it's
know
pronounced
that?
Uncut
No,
Gems.
he literally was like, "What are you talking?" Like he acted like he didn't know what I was talking
That's
about.
like 40 meme cycles ago. Sorry.
To say like Uncut Gems and to have you like literally look at me like you had like I was speaking a different language. I'm not speaking a different language. I'm speaking Julia Fox. You know.
Circa 2022.
All right.
Your memory only goes back. to
Yeah.
Anyway, do you guys want to
2023.
hear who the sibling
Yeah.
is?
Wow. Well, how do we get here? Go on.
It is middle child. Middle children tend to be the
Oh,
more
so
successful.
my first one was
and
right.
it is because they tend to be the most self-sufficient. Older children tend to be too assertive, and younger children tend to be too babied, and therefore not proactive in their own lives. And I think that that seems true. Like I'm really bossy and off-putting. That's why people don't like me, and I'm hard to work with.
What?
Yeah.
Eve can't decide if she wants a hot or iced latte, and looks to me to decide if she wants a hot or iced latte.
Tea.
And then middle children.
I actually have no opinion on siblings.
All right.
So.
Use your opinion.
No, I actually don't have an opinion about that, so I think we should just probably move on. I actually don't have an opinion. I actually don't have any opinion about that at
Yeah.
all.
Robert has no opinion.
Well, I
Actually,
was
I
gonna
have no
say
take
is
about that.
my opinion. Like whoever I heard last talk about something, that's my opinion.
Dude, Eve will. Here's what I do maintain. Eve will say she likes things that I know she hates.
Like
We'll be
what?
all
Well,
right.
okay, Brian. Let's talk about Brian, the social cycle instructor, and the moving of the bike.
Well, I'm
I
gonna
don't
get.
want it, Brian.
One second,
Brian will not see
He
this.
won't see
Brian's
this.
busy.
Also,
You're
what
right.
we're gonna say why we don't like Brian is he was too much. He was too good. He set the bar too high.
Are we gonna bleep out his name?
Well, then.
Just kidding. It's fine.
Well, my main example with Eve is like you'll be like, we'll say something casual like, "Oh, nobody liked that movie," and Eve will be like, "I liked it," and we're like, "Eve, when did you see it?" I saw half of it one time 15 years ago, and then I walked out because I was too bored. Like, so you didn't like it?
I've never said that.
I created a hypothetical movie. You've said stuff like that.
I've never walked out of a movie.
What about didn't you one time pass out in a movie
I
theater?
never. Not funny.
Okay, but that doesn't count as passing
That's the
out.
ultimate walkout.
What movie was that?
But also, it was Ocean's 8, which I've now seen multiple times, and I love that movie.
Sure you do.
Yeah, I do. I love Ocean's 8.
Sure. Literally right before.
Also, it was actually my second time seeing that movie. So
Oh.
when I passed out. Yeah, period.
She passed out because she loved it so much.
Because it was so good.
so
overwhelming
good.
because I can't handle it.
Every time they met a new girl as part of the
Yeah.
heist, Eve gets lightheaded like, oh.
God.
I really
my
don't think
God.
I've ever walked out of a movie.
Dana and I
Because
walked
the
out of here.
deal. I can't do that.
Dude, I used to movie hop on Sundays alone, obviously, when I was in high school.
What?
Shut up. And I would just like, I would like literally just like when I got bored, I'd leave. We'd go to a different movie.
I wouldn't get bored. I only started walking out because now we have AMC stubs.
Yeah.
So it's basically like the movie's paid for,
It's
so it's
free.
like we'll rock and roll.
If we don't like it, we'll ditch.
We'll
Also,
go
it makes
out
it
of there.
easier to like to commit to like go see a movie that you like don't really want to see, and then if you like it, you're like, okay, I'll
Also,
stick
every
around.
movie's on a real short leash now.
Yeah.
Someone says anything weird, I'm like, let's get the fuck out of here.
So
And
what
that's
if you
what Stubbs
guys?
does
I
to
remember
you.
you walked out of Wolverine and
Deadpool.
What else
We
did
did.
you walk out of?
We walked
we
out
walked
of
out of-
that movie.
We walked out of It Ends With Us too.
We
Wait,
walked out
okay.
of
We
It
walked
Ends
It Ends With Us, Deadpool,
So
Wolverine.
Ryan and Blake have not been doing well with us.
If we're us, I don't know about anything else
I
that's
don't
going
know.
on
Yeah,
with
me
them.
neither.
But
No idea. But we did walk out of both
in
movies
terms-
this year, unrelated to anything else.
Unrelated,
Unrelated to anything else. Oh,
It's because you're Justin Baldoni.
it was that
stance,
movie-
right?
We no comments.
We
gotta-
no
we
comments.
gotta cut
No
that.
comments. We walked
Because
out of.
they were gonna start a bot war.
Yeah, we're not trying to get. Well, are we trying to start a? That could get us engagement.
It was just a
That could-
joke.
okay.
It was just a joke because you walked out of Ryan and Blake's movie, so then that would mean that you're a Justin.
But we didn't like
stan.
go home and watch an episode of Jane the Virgin.
Okay,
Yeah.
fine.
So like,
just-
you know,
We're
So
probably gonna
I
cut
was
this
making
after
this
we
thing-
say.
we're not gonna cut it. This is fine.
Oh,
This is
is
I was
it?
making a little thing called "You're such a coward."
You are a coward. Also, like, who do you think is gonna see this? That's like gonna be mad.
Huh?
Do you think Ryan himself is gonna see it? And he's gonna ban you
Also,
from Mint
we
Mobile,
haven't-
which you use.
We haven't
He's
actually
gonna make it so you can't drink aviation
He's gonna
gin
make it so
anymore.
I can't drink aviation gin while making a call on Mint Mobile.
Oh
and
no!
putting Blake Brown in my hair. My three favorite things.
Is that what her hair color?
It's called Blake Brown.
It's a weird name.
Shout out Blake Brown.
I mean, just kidding. Shout out Blake Brown.
Oh, yeah.
We don't love your hair products,
who's
girl.
afraid?
we don't have a stance. I'm just saying, like, it's just a little joke.
It's just
that
a little
if you
joke.
walked out of Deadpool and It Ends With Us, that means
You're a
that you're
Justin
Team
Baldoni.
Justin.
Like, we could also
Supporter.
just be Team Magneto.
Okay.
Oh no! But also, I will say, It Ends With Us also has Justin,
That's
so
true.
it's like
We're-
we would also be anti.
Okay,
Well,
you
it's
know
a no
what?
for the whole gang.
Yeah.
Well, just forget about
Okay.
it. It's fine.
Okay. Regardless, we walked out of another movie. It was like a small indie.
We walked out of
slasher.
Civil War, and
Yeah.
we walked out of an indie slasher.
Yeah.
I almost think I don't know. I don't like the idea of like saying what we walked out of.
Okay. Well, Robert, dude.
Because what if they want to put me in the next Deadpool and Wolverine?
Right,
What if it's
right.
Deadpool and Chubs?
You're
next?
such a coward.
You're a coward, and also, I'm not trying to be rude. Ryan Reynolds would never cast you because you're a little Ryan Reynolds type.
right.
I'm
He
kind
be
of sorry. I'm like an
threatened.
uglier Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
Also, it's like at this point we're like an hour deep. Like the
yeah.
producers are not watching
also,
this far.
Ryan is
There's
not
no
watching
way.
this.
Yeah.
There's no way the casting director.
Ryan-
The casting directors can't make it through 30 seconds of a self tape. There's no
They're
way.
not making it this
They're
deep.
an hour deep in this podcast.
I've been treating all these podcasts as an hour and 15-minute self-tape for Deadpool 3. Deadpool
we
4.
were talking about today how casting directors apparently have admitted that they don't watch very much of self tapes, which like doesn't surprise me at all because
No.
whenever you get something that's like a million pages long and you're expected to like memorize or at least like get pretty familiar with an insanely long script for some freaking side character or something, and you're like, I know that you're not going to watch this. And I was saying we really should have just saved ourselves the time, done a few of the first lines, and then went for the rest
And it's
of
like,
the
if
video.
you really want to see me, hit it up, and I'll film the rest of it.
Yeah, T.
Anyway, Robert's not saying anything because Robert's trying to get cast in
Because
Deadpool
you're
4.
a coward.
I'm
So
trying to get
we'll
cast in
move
Deadpool
on
4.
because you're
You
trying to
guys
get
are
cast
gonna
in
feel
Deadpool
so
4.
stupid
Robert's
when
like,
Deadpool is pegging me on screen in Deadpool
Yeah, I'm
4.
gonna feel real stupid then.
Dana and I did see we saw a really, really fat dog today.
oh, and it looked like a pig.
It literally looked like a pig.
Yeah.
The problem with the fat dog is that they're so cute. Like, it is, on some level, it is animal abuse, but good God, are those fat dogs cute.
They're so adorable. It's crazy. I mean, Biter got a little overweight because Eve was feeding him these high calorie treats inadvertently, and we did get his weight back down. But Chunky Biter was really cute. He could not hang at the dog park
Couldn't hang.
He's so slow.
and really tired.
But I always say this whenever people have fat pets. I'm always like, why?
They're really cute.
Yeah, but like, just like stop. doing that.
but
A
they
lo-
think they're cute.
A lot of people also, and we were saying this to Eve one time, some people literally are so irresponsible, they don't read the package.
And Eve
the
was like,
package
how much
that says
food?
how much you're supposed to feed the dog based on
And
weights.
I couldn't fathom it.
Well, we had 2 dogs, as we've discussed, and my dad never read the package. He just like gave
Were
them
they
a
fat?
scoopful. It's hard to say, man. They were moving around, so I
I
guess
mean, they clearly
they were
throwing
outside
up.
dogs. Yeah.
So
Here's what I'll say,
They were shitting it out.
They moved around a lot until they weren't, and then eventually they were just kind of laying in the corner of the kitchen. Maybe they did get overfed.
Maybe
you would have liked them more.
I wasn't privy to those discussions, but we were saying like any cuteness that a fat dog has, they get you back in the poop department.
Oh,
They make you earn
100%,
it. They make you earn how
100%.
cute they seem to you.
You have full puddle bags.
Well,
But he's
today-
cute at his healthy weight.
He is.
Yeah,
I mean,
he
he's
is.
cute at any weight.
But this dog today, it was so weird because the fat dog had like a kind of ripped owner, and it's like, so you
Yeah.
clearly know what you're supposed to be doing
But
here.
I've seen this a lot in LA specifically, and I hate to say this. This is not going to be very nice. There are a lot of skinny girls
Oh, no,
with
I'm
extremely
quaking.
overweight pets, and I literally wonder in my heart of hearts how much of that is like you are restricting your own food intake and you are making up the difference by
Living
like,
vicariously
through the
empathetically feeding
dog.
your pet, because there was an epidemic of very skinny girls with massive animals.
Stop them. They must be
And-
stopped.
That's all I'm gonna say, but it's just interesting. It's like it goes somewhere. The desire
Yeah.
to feed goes somewhere.
You'll be like, hey, Betty, did you eat lunch today? And she's like, Rufus ate 3 lunches. Betty, I asked if you ate lunch. I told you I fed Rufus 4 lunches.
yeah.
Betty, are you okay?
Yeah.
I gotta go feed Rufus.
Yeah, Rufus needs to eat.
Rufus needs to eat.
So it's just interesting.
I had to think so hard to think of a name of no
That
one
no
I've
one
ever
you
met.
know, yeah.
No, Rufus is a good one. It's
No,
a
she's
good.
using
Betty.
Betty.
Oh.
I was like, I had to think of the name of.
No, but like Rufus is like such a classic dog name. I always thought that in Gossip Girl when his name's Rufus, and I'm like, that's a dog name.
Yeah.
You can't have a human named Rufus. That's what I always thought.
He
about
was
that.
kind of like a dog in that show.
He was.
Really no agency, just
No,
kind
I
of.
mean the name.
Well,
Well,
he
he
was
was
Rufus.
Lily's dog.
It was Lily's
But
dog.
also, it fit his look perfectly. Like he definitely looked
He
like
was
a
such a
Rufus.
Rufus.
It was so funny when you get to an episode that was like a big Rufus episode because Gossip Girl was sold as like this show of like they're rich, they're young, they're out on the town, and Rufus is just like a divorced dad who's like sitting with his guitar in his apartment.
He's like, Jenny, you've changed.
Dad, I'm not your little girl.
Jenny, you have to be more responsible.
Jenny, Dan, this isn't you. You've changed.
He's like,
It's the same for every person. Lily, this isn't you.
he's like, this isn't you. He's like, he's like,
tell people that that's not
he
them.
sees Chuck trying to like have sex and get into trouble. He's like, Chuck, this
This
isn't
isn't
you. It's like
you.
that's exactly who Chuck is.
He's living in.
He's
He
like,
thinks he's in the
Nate,
Matrix.
this is
This isn't you. You're my handler.
He's like, Chuck, what should I wear on my date with Lily? These jeans or khakis? And Chuck's like, my uncle pulled a gun on me over a real estate deal. I've got bigger stuff going on.
Also,
Chuck
yeah,
has
Rufus,
so much
Rufus
going
is the
on.
only one with like really normal stakes, which is just like his wife doesn't like it. None of his wives seem to like him that much.
Yeah.
Like
He's
he's-
unsure about how to get back into the dating pool as a middle-aged man.
he's like trying to figure out how to afford his kid's private school.
Meanwhile-
Again, he's living in a different universe than every other
Meanwhile,
character.
Chuck's dad is faking his own death to reappear as part of a permanent sex cult, it seems.
Chuck always had the most going on.
I mean, Chuck had a lot going on. Also, yeah, fake mom. Is that his mom? Is that not his mom?
He bought a hotel as a sophomore in high school. And then everyone else is like, he's just doing real estate storylines.
Iconic.
So someone in class is like, hey, Chuck, did you get the answers for number 13? The developers are trying to scam me out of the Plaza Motel.
I did love when like Nate was randomly homeless though, and I'm just like, where are his parents? Where's everyone's
his dad's in jail.
parents?
Yeah, his dad's in jail, and then his
Oh.
mom. I don't know what his mom was up to.
Gallivanting.
And then his mom divorced his dad, and he's so
Yeah.
pissed at her. Nate, they never had any idea what to do with. Nate
think it's
really
because-
quickly kind of fell by the
I
wayside.
think it's because they wanted his character. Okay, it's interesting because like Chase Crawford obviously like is sexy,
Yeah.
but he's kind of like. And again, I think in The Boys,
Yeah, he's really
He's
funny.
really
in
good
The
in The
funny,
Boys.
really good in The Boys. But like Nate as a character is just a little toothless, and so there's really no. He doesn't really like.
he doesn't really have chemistry with
No,
anyone.
he doesn't have chemistry
'cause
with
he has
anyone.
no real character.
Weirdly, he has chemistry with no one in the show.
Which is why I think at the end he's running for mayor.
Yeah, or something like that. They try to put him with like that older lady.
Well,
And
that
it's-
was funny where the whole idea was Nate was just in the Hamptons fucking everyone's mom.
Yeah.
That was his
Yeah, that
story.
was really
I
fun.
do remember that. I don't remember the mayor of it all.
I think in the end, he like
Well, he,
buys
like,
a newspaper.
Yeah, he buys a newspaper.
Okay, random.
Senior in
He's
high
the
school.
editor of a newspaper.
Senior in
But
high
I
school.
love when Nate's really seriously trying to like we need to take down Gossip Girl. Gossip Girl's ruining our lives.
I do love how they're like at the end they're like Dan was Gossip Girl the whole time. What about the times when he literally couldn't be Gossip Girl? Someone else was Gossip Girl
Also,
those
Gossip
times.
Girl like ruined all their lives, and they're just like chill. Like they're
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's fine.
Dan's like basically like tweeting out nudes of his little sister, and he's
He was
like,
like, Jenny was okay with she posted that.
she did that.
And
What-
his dad is like, Dan, how could you post these things about your sister?
This isn't you.
He's like,
Dan, this isn't you.
And he's like, Jenny was cool with it.
he's like, Jenny was cool with it. What about this other stuff where it's posted about you? Georgina posted that. How many did you make any Gossip Girl posts? He's like, it's hard to say. And then the credits rolled.
They're like, here's your show. That was a great show.
Well, I love a show that's like, why do we need to make sense? Making sense is so boring.
Making
And
sense.
I
is boring.
love that. I love when things just go so off the rails.
Also, I know Gossip Girl's off the rails enough because no one even has a beam on it, and you still like it.
No one has a
Right.
magic
Criteria.
power.
Well, I always say if a show to catch my attention, somebody's got to have a beam, which is
Like Eve requires supernatural
When someone has a
elements and
beam.
magic
Well,
powers.
you'll say stuff like, Batman is cooler than the two
we
guys
can't
on
do this.
Supernatural.
We can't do this, or I'm gonna claw my eyes out.
And
We
Eve says
can't-
shit like that.
We can't have the Batman is cool debate again, or
Well,
I'm
Eve's like,
gonna kill
Batman's
myself.
not cool. I'm like, he's pretty universally agreed to be the coolest superhero. And Eve's like, you know
Who
who's
is this universe?
cool?
You say universal.
Our universe.
Not mine.
This is proof that we all
Not
live in different
mine.
worlds.
In my universe, everyone thinks Batman's a big old loser.
And they think Sam and Dean from Supernatural
Yes.
are
Oh my god!
cool.
And then we got into this huge argument about whether or not Sam and Dean would win against Batman.
They clearly
And
wouldn't win against Batman.
obviously-
They're just two guys. Because Eve's whole
Batman's
thing.
just a guy.
Eve's whole thing was Batman sucks because he doesn't even have powers. There's no beam. She's like, for a superhero to be cool, he needs to be shooting a beam. And I said, but what about Sam and Dean from Supernatural? You love
I
that show.
hate
They don't have
this.
beam.
But there was Sam and Dean. Also, Batman's just one guy,
And so
and they're two guys.
So wait a minute. Two guys, no beam, good. One guy, no beam, bad. So you can either be one guy with a beam or two guys with no beam.
This math is crazy.
This is your math.
It's like Sam and Dean are always gonna be victorious. Period.
Is anyone cooler than Sam and Dean from Supernatural? No. What about Lucifer? You watch Lucifer?
Okay, who would win? The Salvatore brothers or Sam and Dean?
I think you asked me that, and I actually do think Sam and Dean would win because they've hunted plenty of vampires in their day,
So it wouldn't even be a problem. It
and
would be
Beast's
light work.
bigger than that.
Here's what I would
so.
say. That would have been such a cool crossover.
That would be an epic
That would be an
crossover. Oh my
epic
god, I would love
crossover.
that. Okay, but this brings me to another topic I had, which was this lady was getting like quote unquote canceled for dunking on like romance novel readers and how the relationships are often glamorized and they're always abusive relationships, and I'm like, or they're never showing healthy relationships, and I'm like, girl, who wants to read or watch a fucking healthy, like, can you
I would always think
imagine-
about that.
Can you imagine if Elena's like, Damon, I'm dating Stefan, he's your brother, and Damon was like, I respect your wishes, Elena. I will no longer be pursuing you.
Damon's not in the show
Yeah,
ever
yeah,
again.
yeah.
Can you imagine?
Like, well, I guess I have to leave Elena and
come
Stefan alone.
on. He's like, obviously he has to be like, I don't care, Elena. I belong with you. Like, and like that, you want to see Damon being like, I respect you, Elena, and my brother. Goodbye.
Well, okay, this is going off of, okay, people always say when they're commenting on TV shows, they say that they don't want things that they want.
Yes.
Which is like number one biggest pet peeve. Like, okay, Robert and I have been watching Modern Family, as we said.
Oh my god.
And there's this girl who makes she makes coffee while she talks about Modern Family. And she has the most literal and serious critiques of Modern Family where she literally breaks down every dynamic in this comedy TV show. And essentially is always just like, why doesn't Claire leave Phil? And if you're not familiar with Modern Family, Claire and Phil are like supposed to be the epitome of like the happily married in love couple.
She's always like, Cam is an abusive narcissist. Claire is an undiagnosed alcoholic. Why is no one taking Haley's
Cam-
eating disorder seriously?
And her examples are like literal jokes, like literal, like clear
Cam is
jokes.
an abusive narcissist. It's so funny.
I saw a montage of funny Cam moments, and one of the top comment was, here for the Cam slander, but he is very funny. It's like, then why are
then
you
why are you
here
here
for the
for this
Cam
Cam
slander?
slander?
You're here for the laughter. character.
But like in the same way that like Elena, like you're like, why is there no healthy relationships depicted? It's like that's not what you want. That is not entertainment.
There was a show where it was like Claire was like, clearly our marital issues are not working out. We should get a divorce. And Phil's like, okay, like that's a horrible show.
That's a terrible show.
Also, I've been watching it for the life of me. I can't see where they're getting that they have a bad relationship. Even she's like, why doesn't Claire leave Phil? I don't know, because he's a loving husband and caring father.
Like
What
do you mean?
Wasn't there like what was like the top comment on that one?
May a husband like Phil Dunphy never find a
He won't.
Bruh. He won't,
Great
bruh.
news. He won't.
But also, I'm like a key theme that needs to exist in like all kind of like romance content is that love persists despite obstacles. And what everyone claims that they want is like love that has no obstacles.
Can you imagine if Twilight was like, Bella was like, you're a vampire. I don't like that. I'm gonna go.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
was like, and Edward was like, it's not safe for me to be with you. I'm gonna like literally
Can you
kill
imagine?
you. And she was
She's
like,
like, true.
oh, okay, I
That's
guess
so
I'll,
true. I'm gonna
well,
leave.
goodbye, Edward.
Can you imagine if in
Edward.
Twilight Bella had a baby and Jacob wasn't immediately like, I'm gonna fuck that baby?
There'd be no plot.
There'd be no
guys.
plot. That's what the whole story is.
But again, there is like an epidemic of people not understanding that they love something and saying they hate it. Like,
Also, it's like if
no,
you
love
story
it.
needs to have conflict.
Well, but also
There can't
these
be
things
zero
are
conflict.
fake.
Yeah.
And the people watching them knows they're fake. Well, I saw something, someone said this about Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It was some article where they were like, now obviously there's a lot of things in Buffy the Vampire Slayer that wouldn't fly today. Like vampires like using like their vampire powers to seduce someone. I'm like, dude, you think in 2002 people were just totally chill with a real life vampire mind control? No,
Like,
it's
why do you-
fake on the TV.
It's not because it's 2025 and we know that's wrong now. It's that, I mean, this also goes to my thing where there's so many TikTok video essays where people are talking about how fictional characters are actually really bad people. And it's like, they are not actually a person at all. Like, there's so many video essays about Carrie Bradshaw's actually a really bad friend. She's not a real friend. She's not a real person. She is fake.
Well, if John Wick was real, it would be a national tragedy every time he shot up another nightclub. If John Wick was real, imagine this, a man shoots up a nightclub because they killed his dog. No one would be like, that guy's awesome.
A character can't be problematic by virtue of they are a character. They're made up.
But the things that they're dreaming of are the world's most boring stories. Like a perfect character who never does anything wrong. They have no flaws whatsoever.
Well, it's like those people who they'll whenever Euphoria is on, people will be like, why couldn't they just set this in college and have no sex scenes whatsoever? It's like those shows exist.
yeah, you can watch
You're not
it.
watching them, are you?
You perv.
You pervert, because you're sick, and
you're
we're
sick.
and we're coming to get you.
But again, you'd rather
lock you up.
You'd rather watch.
Not in a weird. That actually sounded creepy. I
Yeah.
wasn't trying to do that.
Stop threatening the young old teenagers.
Yeah, stop doing that.
You'd rather watch smut and complain about it than watch anything wholesome.
They just love
a day in your life.
complain.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
I've
love
never-
to read. They love to read something dirty and then be like, "That was actually so dirty. That was so
Yeah.
bad and dirty
I
that I
hate that
read
they
that.
write
Oh, I
that.
hate that they
I
made me
hate-
read
what
that
the
dirty
frick?
book over and over
Yeah.
again."
I famously never complain, and then I always go on the Reddit to like see what people are talking about. Everyone has so many complaints, and I'm always like, "Did you guys even like it?" Like,
But they love it.
They love
that's
that.
also the ultimate mark of love is hate, actually, like on the internet at least. I'm like, if no one's hating on your thing, that means it sucks. I really think that. Because it means no one cares about it.
Yeah.
Like if your thing only gets positive reviews and acclaim, that means no one actually liked it.
Well, that's how you know, like, the Adam Sandler movies did go so hard, because Grown Ups is sitting at a 8% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
Actually, Grown Ups 1 is sitting at a 10%. Grown Ups 2 is sitting at an 8%.
I mean, critics' reviews of Adam Sandler movies are exactly what we talk about when we say when people don't like you, they pretend they don't get jokes. Like in Grown Ups, is it 2 when the reindeer pees in his mouth?
Yeah, and Grown Ups 2, it opens with a CGI reindeer pissing at Adam Sandler's open mouth.
And it's like you just know the critics were like, "That's not funny.
That's
Why would a
gross.
reindeer piss in his mouth? That would never happen. A reindeer would never piss in
A
someone's
reindeer
mouth."
pissed in my mouth last
would
year,
be-
and I did not find it funny. It tasted really icky.
he would have been throwing up like I was when a reindeer pissed in my mouth.
So and that's
This is offensive to the reindeer and pissing in mouth community.
Obviously, like, look, a lot of things are different since Grown Ups 2 come out. Like, now we know it's problematic for a full-grown reindeer to piss in a
Things were
man's
different back
open
then.
mouth.
Different times. They're just trying to get us prepared for when the reindeers come.
Dude,
In real life.
Piss in our mouth.
For
when the reindeer
vampires come
hybrids,
and
when the
seduce
when the
us.
vampire reindeer hybrids come,
And then we'll be like,
seduce us
oh,
and
it's
piss
like
in our
in the
mouths.
movie.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like in a
fine.
movie.
And I couldn't help but wonder: is reindeers pissing in our mouths the new thing? That's
Is
Carrie
it that's
Bradshaw.
Carrie?
So it's an episode of
Dumb bitch.
Everyone's like, she's a bad person.
It's an episode of Sex in the City where the vampires and the reindeers come,
Yeah.
and the reindeers are pissing in your mouth.
Oh, I thought the vampire reindeers were hybrids.
Oh, they're hybrid vampire
Like
reindeers, and they're
chimera
in Sex in the
vampire
City.
reindeers.
And Samantha's like, I kind of like it.
Yeah.
Samantha likes it.
Samantha
Honey,
like-
you haven't had a vampire reindeer piss in your mouth? Where have you been?
It's all the rage, Carrie.
Miranda's like, look, piss in my mouth, piss on my head. Just let me sleep in on a Sunday.
And Charlotte's like, that's horrible.
Miranda, you're not really letting these reindeers piss in your mouth, are you?
Or Miranda comes home and Steve is drinking reindeer piss out of a red Solo cup. And she's like, what are you doing? Miranda, it's kind of good. Try it. You never want to try the things I want you to try.
It's never gonna work out between us if you won't take a little sip of the reindeer piss.
That's why it didn't work out. Or wait, did they end up together? I
No,
have
they
idea.
they
I
ended
thought
up
they got divorced.
They didn't end just like that because of Che.
Oh.
But that's not canon. Don't make me so clear. It's not canon.
Okay.
It's not canon.
It's not canon.
It can't be canon.
And just like that can't be canon.
Well, it's so funny because having seen it just like that and then going back and watching the Sex in the City original shows, like these actually take place on different planets.
Yeah. No, they're on different planets.
They're on completely different
Yeah.
planets.
I haven't seen it just like that.
Well, because there's no beam.
Well, I haven't even seen all of Sex in the City.
Because
probably
there's
'cause
no beam. There's no beam.
It has to be. Well, see, Gossip Girl is like the stakes are so. It may as well be fantasy because the stakes are so.
It would be
insane.
more
It's fantasy.
believable
It's
if Chuck
fantasy.
had a beam.
Yes,
it would be more plausible.
It would.
Well,
be.
it's fantasy in that, like, okay, like, I was rereading Artemis Fowl, which is a young adult series about
It's
boy,
I think it's
an
a
evil
children's
boy
series.
genius. Okay, young adults are children. Children are young adults if they're mature.
Sorry. I'm looking
sorry.
for the next
I've lived
episode of
in
Young
Hollywood too
Old
long.
that's just Eve and I. I'm like, Dana wasn't on the pod,
Yeah.
and that was my decision.
Oh my god, canceled reference.
I need to reflect on my actions. No, but Artemis Fowl is like an evil boy genius, and a lot of the reason why it's like fantasy is because he's like so young. Like if it was an old guy doing this, I'm like, would it
Yeah.
even be in the fantasy genre? But like that is Chuck with his hotel. Like it's fantasy because it's like a 15-year-old doesn't have a hotel.
Speaking of which, speaking of Artemis Fowl, that was another one. He's like an evil. He's like a supervillain, but he's like a precocious little child
Yeah.
who's like a genius supervillain. And when Disney made a movie of it, they said, "Well, obviously, we couldn't really actually have him be like a criminal mastermind, so we removed that element." And it's like, but so then I'm like, so then he's just like a kid who's good at school.
Like what?
Also, he's like Gru. He's like a cartoonish. It's like Gru.
I really am like at a certain point, did people stop understanding that TV and movies aren't real?
Well,
Yeah,
they're gonna
it's pretend.
reboot Despicable Me, and they're gonna be like, obviously, Gru's behavior wouldn't fly in 2035. So, with this rendition of Acceptable Me, we really hope
Acceptable
that children
me.
come on board.
Acceptable me. Or
Acceptable
like
me is crazy.
or virtuous me.
Virtuous Me.
Or like Doogie Howser, the child doctor, and it's like he would have to go through years of schooling alone.
Yeah.
He couldn't be a
to
doctor that young.
Receive his PhD. There's no way he could be a doctor at that age.
In Virtuous Me, or Acceptably in Virtuous Me, the minions are called Respected Equals.
Respected
With full
equals,
benefits.
With full pay and benefits. Also in Supernatural, people are always coming back from the dead, and that does happen in Gossip Girl. So
Well, Chuck's dad, who gets killed so early in season 1, and then around like season 5,
I think he gets killed in season 2.
I
but
think
yeah.
I think it might be the season finale of season 1. Is it
Okay.
season 2?
I don't
Anyway,
remember.
he gets killed so early in the show,
Yeah.
and then like 3 or 4 whole seasons
Yeah.
later, he's been dead. They're going to like some sort of eyes wide shut sex party, and his dad is just alive and there.
And he's like, Dad?
and it's like, wait a minute, am I to believe that
I can't
he
do a
spent
good
the
job.
last 4 years just jumping from sex party to sex party?
And yes.
And yes.
And the
And
answer's
yes.
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 And yes.
Well, also like Dynasty is the reboot of Dynasty is another example of like technically it's set in the real world, but things are so nutty that it may as well be fantasy. Like by the end of Dynasty, people are fully ripping off flesh masks to be many different people, and it's like I'm so there for it.
Yeah. I mean, again, extremely heightened. That's what TV is supposed to be. It's an escape. It's not real. It's a better, cooler version of reality.
Right.
It's not supposed to be like so grounded, and like you're not supposed to watch a TV show and go like, but is that morally acceptable that that character would do that?
Yeah.
That's not supposed to be crossing
Sam
your
and Dean
mind.
are fighting God.
Yeah. Is that morally acceptable?
Yeah. In Pretty Little Liars, they also did the flesh mask thing, but okay, at least for Dynasty, they would just have a different actor playing it, and then they would do like a little cut, and then when they peel it off, it's a different actor. But for Pretty Little Liars, they fully had like she like told an officer to come inside the house because she was scared somebody was in there, and the officer fully has like a real like
That's so
actual
funny.
mask on that like clearly looks like a Party City mask, and then we're supposed to believe that she's so stupid that she can't tell that this person is in a Party City mask, and then obviously they like whatever knock her out or something like that. But it sometimes the shows that are real are like so wacko that it crosses into fantasy.
Right.
Well, yeah, I remember like there was like one show though where they were like it was a zombie show. They do this a lot. It was like a zombie show, and the creator was like, we wanted to really hold back on the zombies and kind of save the zombies. It was Last of Us. Like
Last
we
of
want to
Us.
save the zombies. We want to hold back. I'm like, why? It's a zombie show.
Walking Dead has never once held back
Show
on
me
the
the zombies.
And then I would like to announce that Young Old will be saving its zombies. That's why we haven't.
Yeah, that's why we've
had
never showed the zombies.
yet.
They're
We're
coming,
saving
though.
them.
At the
Oh.
very last minute of the last episode of Young Old, we're gonna hear a zombie outside and go,
Yeah.
what was that?
What was that?
Yeah.
Credits.
Yeah. And then you'll find out that this was a zombie show.
Zombie
the
show
whole
the
time.
whole
Season
time.
2 dropping in 15 years.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate that. That's another thing. This also, it makes me
Yeah.
feel so old, but I'm like, they used to release a TV every year, man.
Yeah, if you're
you
Gen
have a
Alpha
new
and you're
season
watching
every
this,
year.
you don't
Nobody
know,
wants to
but-
work anymore.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to work anymore.
Well, it's very like Tony Stark built this in a cave with a box of scraps. It's like the CW would put out 30 episodes a year with a
30
budget of
episode
like
seasons,
$12.
Also, like 10 shows, so many hot people, so much drama, so many crazy things happening.
And now it's like ugly people in a desaturated apartment, and it's 4 episodes.
Yeah.
And then season 2 comes out in 2055.
It's 4 episodes of busted weirdos.
Well, it's like I do love
Busted weirdos.
I do love Severance, and we haven't seen Severance season 2 yet, and like I'm excited for it. But I was like, man, you know when Severance season 3 comes out, we're gonna be watching it in a hospital bed with like an oxygen tank. Like that is what work is like.
Yeah, like, okay, I guess I'll see it when I'm 95 and breathing my final breath.
You've always completely forgotten like what has happened in the
Yeah.
season.
Well, I'm a different person.
Yeah.
Right.
I was Jean's kid when Severance season 1 dropped.
D.
No, I wasn't. But
And now
You were
you're
who?
Jean's kid.
I was Jean's kid.
And now he's Orange Boy.
Jean's kid. I was thinking Jean. For some reason, when you said it, it was spelling out different.
Why did I remind you? And it was a good thing you had forgotten Jean's kid. I should have just let that
know.
slip from your brain.
I remember.
I will never forget it. Chubs is Jean's kid.
I
Is
remember
Tanner at
Chubs'
prom boy.
Do you think the kids who called you Jean's kid remember calling you Jean's kid?
Can we have them call in?
Yeah, can
Yeah.
you ask them? Do any of them follow you on Instagram?
Probably.
Oh, interesting.
Someone else we were going to have call in is the old counselor of Dana's horseback riding camp.
Oh my God, Bobby.
Oh God.
Do we need
Do
to
we
talk
want
about
to
Bobby?
dox him? His full
No,
name?
we're not going to dox his full name.
Okay,
so
well, we can say Bobby.
on last week's
pretty,
episode,
you know.
we discussed my traumatic experience at a horse camp that was actually a child labor camp where I was promised the opportunity to ride horses and instead
She was
was forced
shoveling
to shovel
poo-poo.
poo. But we took it upon ourselves
shoveling
to, after
poo-poo.
we stopped recording.
I wanted to see if the camp was still like going on. And if it was, like, we definitely would have done a pod from there, shutting that place down. But it turns out they're already closed, okay?
So they're closed, and my story is actually not unique, and it was very much like looking at the Yelp reviews.
Yeah, 'cause I was looking at the Yelp
I've never
reviews.
had an original experience in my life.
and
kind
there
of
was
moment.
another review that was like, I went here as a kid. It was an adult posting years later saying
Someone
I went
still
here as a
hung up
kid
on their
and
trauma.
saying that they had a horrible experience. So many of the reviews used the same words, which were that the guy who ran the place, Bobby, smelled like booze and was a disgusting pervert.
But like just knowing there are other adults who are still hung up on how bad this horse camp was is like made me feel so
Well, it's so
like,
funny
connected.
that Dana's problem was they made her do too much chores in relation to the horseback riding, but that was just, it turns out that was just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
That was the thing that allowed us to uncover this deep conspiracy of this cigarette smelling pervert.
Yeah.
Booze. They say he
Booze.
reeked of booze.
He
Multiple
reeked of
people said he
booze.
reeked of booze and was a disgusting pervert.
Yeah. And I will say, he
and-
never ogled me. That wasn't my issue.
Yeah,
at
you
the
weren't
camp.
cute enough for him.
With your roller backpack.
Yeah.
And your poor
I
work ethic.
maintain I was
Yeah,
cute.
he liked girls with good work ethic. He likes girls who were shoveling.
That's true. Well, one of the reviews entailed a screenshot of text messages
Right.
between an dissatisfied customer and Bobby, the camp owner, in which she's basically like, my girls didn't get to fucking ride horses. Like, I'm pulling them out. And he goes as far as to call her children spoiled and tell her she's
No,
not
he
parent.
says, what did he say? He says, she goes, how
also
much money?
can't spell.
He says, how much money? She goes, how much money do I owe you? I just want to pull my kids out. He goes, I don't need your money.
Every period between every word.
I don't have time to deal
First,
with
no.
spoiled
It's
kids.
spelled spoiled.
Spoiled kids. I don't have time to deal with spoiled kids.
And then
He doesn't
was-
have time for spoiled
And then he
kids.
said, like, essentially implied she was a bad parent.
Yeah. And then I was like hearing so much about Bobby, and I'm like, I gotta see who this guy is.
And so
Eve
we were,
went deep.
I made it my mission. And I found their Instagram. First of all, their Instagram, the horses are looking bad.
they starved
They
these
look
horses.
sad.
The horses-
These
They
look
horses
sad.
are not being
And I'm
fed or
like,
cared
why would
for.
you post this photo of the horse? And it's like they must just be blind to how the horses look.
Well, he's boozed up.
He's boozed up. He must think that it's like he has what are they called? Beer goggles?
Yeah, for his horses. That's so funny.
He thinks they look so good.
Yeah, like when you think a girl's hot when you're drunk.
But yeah, but
Well,
they
someone's
actually
like, hey,
look-
Bobby, I think you need to feed your horses. He's like, I don't have time for spoiled horses.
he doesn't have time for spoiled horses. Or he's like, they have to be skinny.
But Eve
Yeah.
really, she found like
She really does.
Oh, he's on
the guys in the
Instagram.
background walking away from a photo, and
Yeah.
he's like triangle. She's
Yeah.
like enhance.
Yeah.
Well, because the only photo of him, everything was like just the girls, sus, or the really skinny horses. And there's only one photo of him, and it was him, like the back of him, like walking away. And I would assume that all of the captions are written by him because it just sounded like his voice from, the text message we read of his. And it was like our riding coach, Bobby, and it was spelled like R as like A-R-E. That really got me. Our riding coach, Bobby. And it was just the backside of him, but like the silhouette was so intriguing. I'm like, I gotta see
So
the front.
intriguing. It is just kind of like a portly middle-aged man in jeans.
And a cowboy
and
hat.
then the only thing that had his face in it was like a book that they made him,
Yeah.
and it had his face like in a little like photo in the front, and I zoomed
Zoom
in,
in hands.
and I was able
Zoom
to
in hands.
and so I was able to match up the back of his bod.
And by the way, Dana and I had moved on to other
we were like
conversation
talking about
topics,
something
and Eve's in
completely
the corner like,
and she's like, this is Bobby. Yeah.
it's basically like it's the middle of the night, and Eve shakes us awake, and she just goes, look,
I found him.
this is the house Bobby grew up in.
But also, there's a phone number.
Yeah,
for
so
this,
we were joking. We were saying, should we prank call him?
And he's gonna be like, I remember you. You're spoiled.
Spoiled.
But I'm like, should we prank call him?
Well, I was saying somehow it would end up. He turned out to be such a silver-tongued devil that we'd end up cleaning poop again.
Yeah,
we
we
just
do
be.
that.
The
Back at
camp
the
is
farm.
literally closed.
I was like,
Yeah.
wait a minute, how did this happen?
Yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't even have the guts
Well,
to do it.
well, this is something that I think
Who's gonna call Bobby?
Who's gonna call Bobby? Well, I took the liberty. Bobby, get in here.
Oh my
Cousins,
god.
Bobby.
Cousins, Bobby.
Cousins, Bobby walks in and he's leading all the cousins on horseback.
Wow.
Well, I was saying the reason that I'm
The
scared to prank
skinny
call him is
horses.
because I always get scared that like, what if like your whatever you do is like this person is on their final straw.
Oh,
and
she said, what if
like, what if
kills
he?
himself?
What if like he's really turned a new leaf and he's like trying to leave that past behind? He's like, I don't want to be boozy Bobby anymore.
What's a
I don't-
boozy perv? Always a boozy perv.
He's like, I'm distanced myself from that life of boozy perversion.
I clean the poop myself now.
Yeah, and we call and we're like, "How's your booze and poop, Bobby?" And he's like, I'll never escape."
I'll
And
never
he-
escape.
And then he ends it all.
He's like, you make hundreds of children clean poop thousands of times, and that just stays with you forever.
But he had some of the girls posted, like tagged on their Instagram, and I was like, I really want to reach out to them and have them interviewed here about their experience in Bobby.
But I just want to say, I forgive you, Bobby.
I don't.
Eve had no interaction, zero. But she just became on the hunt for Bobby.
Yeah, Bobby's on her list now.
You're on my list.
Dude, it is funny to think back about some of the summer camps because, like, obviously, like, my dad would always sign me up for like these like soccer camps just to keep me busy during the day. And like, I'm looking back, they were always just like two guys with like a bag full of stuff they clearly bought at Dick's Sporting Goods that morning, and I'm just with them for like 3 weeks of my life.
Okay, when you grow up, you realize how easy it is to start a camp. Like I'm
Yeah.
like, I could make a camp.
What if we did young old camp?
Dude, we could literally do young old camp. We could do a podcasting camp. I know we could get people. Here's the real truth. I know that we could get people to pay us $500 a week to teach their kids
Wait,
to podcast.
is that the real truth?
Also, do you think
Guys,
anyone
if your kids want to come
Yeah,
podcast
if your kids,
with us.
not you, kids only.
Kids only.
The kids get here. They're like, "Why are we cleaning up poop?" We're like, "You got to clean up poop to earn the right to pod."
Yeah, it's going to be 8 hours of poop, 20 minutes of pod.
And that's our ratio as well.
Yeah.
We all do 8 hours for every 20 minutes of pod. We've done 8 hours of poop.
I'm like, where's all the poop coming from?
Well, that reminds me of poopy flakes. No one wants to talk about
it's
that.
too
Okay,
late to
all
go
right.
into
It's too
that.
late.
All right.
Leave you on a cliffhanger.
Leave it a
For next
cliffhanger.
time.
But I think cliffhangers you resolve eventually. We're gonna leave you on a really weird non sequitur.
Yeah.
Poopy flakes.
Poopy flakes. And on that note, I think we've recorded enough.
Yeah,
Are we
it's been
good?
it's been a long night.
We had to clean
night.
poop for 36 hours before this.
So you're welcome, guys. We really earned it for you, young oldenators. As always, or as first time, if there's anything you'd like to hear us talk about, please let us know in the comments. Does anyone else have anything to say?
But we're going to ignore it and talk about poopy flakes instead.
No, we're not talking about poopy flakes.
We're going to
No,
ignore
we're
it
gonna ignore
and
it.
talk about Bobby the horse rider.
We're gonna ignore it and we're gonna talk about what was it? Vampire deer hybrids who piss in the mouth of the Sex and the City women.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
also just like, I always worry. I'm like, have we gotten too weird for people?
We're really weird. Well, you also realize that like it is also like the three of us just we just spend all this time kind of in our own world, and then sometimes we interact with people who are like not in the bubble,
Yeah.
and you make a reference to something like poopy flakes, and they just look at you like, "What are you talking
Well,
about?"
we all vibe like we have deep cabin fever. Like we're giving Shining
Yeah, but
at all times.
Yeah.
There was a comment last week, I think it was on a short, but it was like, not a single thought has occurred in this room. And I was like, they read us
That's
down.
true.
They ate us up.
we're yap first, ask questions never.
Yeah, first ask questions never.
Yeah, first
period.
ask questions never.
All right, should we sing our song?
All right. It was a good night recording young old. The sun was bright, the tea was sold. We sell tea to afford podcast mics, and we're gonna talk about poopy flakes.
Okay. Good night.
Good night.